up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get a city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get a city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get a city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1254 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Season 4 of Yes, We Are Open, the award-winning podcast from Monaris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. The Moment Lab, brand marketing and strategy, PR, advertising, and production. You need The Moment Lab. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, making her Toronto Mic debut, is Allison Dore. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you. We're going to get into it later, but I might have met you in the past, but I'm not sure we ever met in the past, but we might have crossed paths at 30th Street, a studio on 30th Street. Like, I don't know.
You know what? I feel like I saw you there, but I don't know if we were always sort of like someone was doing something, because I feel like, I don't know if we've ever had a conversation before.
No, but I knew you, like, and again, we're going to dive into it. Absolutely. But I feel like we both kind of came out of the same environment. Like you were, am I right? You were using the Humble and Fred studio to record Ward and Al.
Yes.
And my first 19 episodes of this very podcast were recorded in the Humble and Fred studio at that same location. So it's like we were both kind of using the studio at the same time is how I remember it.
Yes, that's how I remember it too. And so I feel like we might have,
but we might have never had I might have been intimidated by the fact, there's Allison Dore. Like, I don't think
sure. Yeah. I've been big time pretty much since I was born. So you were probably intimidated by what I had going on there.
Absolutely. So we're going to get to know more about Allison Dore, what makes you tick, what you're up to. You have 2 L's in your name.
I do.
This song only has 1 L in the name, Allison. So it's not about you.
Maybe it's disguised.
Do you play when you hear this song, do you think, that's my jam? Like, what is your reaction to Elvis Costello's Allison?
So I do love this song, and people bring it up all the time. It is the most referenced song, but the Lemonheads have a song called Allison's Starting to Happen.
Right.
And that I prefer.
It's a Shame About Ray? Is that on It's a Shame About Ray?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I am not overly familiar with the Lemonheads. I think a friend of mine in high school put it on a mixtape for me.
Okay. So there's multiple exceptional Allison jams.
Yes. The other one I have gotten frequently in my life is You Can Call Me Al. But
yeah.
Elvis is the one that gets most reference, for sure.
Yes. And this is objectively, this is a great song. Mm-hmm. So that helps things. Okay.
And this world is killing me. He's not wrong. It might not have been about me, but it still fits.
All right, let's get into it because I want to hear how the world is killing Allison Dore. I do want to just thank all the FOTMs. So, Allison, FOTMs are friends of Toronto Mic.
Friends of Toronto Mic, I know.
Did you know that? I'm impressed.
Yes.
You knew. Like, Alan Frew was here a couple days ago, and I'm saying FOTM, and he's looking at me like I'm talking a different language.
Okay, well, Alan, hot tip, listen to the podcast before you're a guest.
Can I guess that you listened to your brother's episode? Can I make that guess?
I did listen to my brother's episode. I like to gauge. He kept saying, I don't lie, I'm not telling a lie, and normally he does lie, and he didn't lie in that episode, and I was pretty
Is that a
impressed.
rarity? I haven't compared it to other episodes, but do you find sometimes he does these interviews and he's kind of a little bullshitting?
He likes to play, right? Okay. And he likes to very deadpan deliver and say things where you're like, no, that's not possible. And he's gotten me, like, I get so mad if he actually tricks me, because for the most part, I know he's a dirty liar.
So then you, as sister of Jonathan Dore's, spoiler alert, like, do you think that was one of Jonathan's better interviews, or is it just in the middle there, or is it one of his weaker interviews? Like, where would you rank the Toronto Mic'd debut of Jonathan Dore?
I thought it was quite good. I think he's in an interesting phase now where he's talking more about his life, because we're kind of opposites in the sense that I am an open book. I will tell anyone anything about my life, and he's very guarded. But he's even like on stage as well. He's getting more honest and talking more real stuff about his life.
Right.
So yeah, that's why it's always very interesting for me to listen to him on podcasts and stuff, just because I just kind of want to see what he's going to say.
So when you listen to him on Toronto Mike, you figure, okay, now I know what I'm in for. But I will say you're going to be better off than your brother. He zoomed in he was on the road, and he lives in Alaska.
I know.
Have you been to Alaska to visit him?
I have been to Alaska.
Okay. And how was the trip to Alaska?
I mean, it's getting there that's really irritating, right? I mean, once you're there, look, mountains, beautiful, water, beautiful.
Right.
I love his family. His kids are incredible. So it's like, once you're there, great. Getting there, no thanks. I'm fine, thank you.
What is it like? You have to fly, and then you have to hike to a train station. What is the process in getting there?
You have to take a horse and buggy, and that's the weird part. No, it's just the only flight to Juneau goes out of Seattle, and there are only direct flights from Toronto to Seattle certain days of the week.
Interesting.
And so sometimes you have to fly Vancouver, Seattle, Juneau, and it feels like you're going back. And it just takes forever, right? It's basically, that's a full 18-hour day.
Okay, so if it takes that much effort to get there, how long do you stay there once you arrive? Like, how long was your trip to Alaska?
10 days.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, and to be fair, I've only been there once.
I mean, rumor has it, the rumor being Jonathan starting this rumor on my program, but he says he wants to move back to Ontario.
Yeah, hopefully they're going to do that. They both seem to be on board for it. But, it's easy when things are in the talking stage,
right,
to say you're going to do it. And, Christina's lived in Alaska her entire life. Yeah. And so it's a bit of a different thing. But we have so much family here. And look, Alaska's pretty and everything, but it's better here. It's just better.
No argument from me. Now, where was I? I was in the middle of a sentence. Oh, yeah, FOTMs. That's right. So that's going to, Allison, that's going to happen. I'm not a professional broadcaster like you, so that's going to happen. But then we always come back. So there were many FOTMs came out to TMLX 12 last night, and it was great hanging out with every single FOTM who came out. So literally, Allison, we all collected in a park, and I brought cold Great Lakes beer, and we all drank beers in the park. It was a great night. It was like a hot night. It was like 25 degrees or something, and that was last night. So thank you for coming out to TMLX 12. Daryl McAllister. Do you know that name?
I've seen it on Twitter.
Okay, the Twitter name Daryl McAllister wants me to ask you. Now, when you arrived, I was checking it out. It might be a personal question. I don't think it is. But how many tattoos do you have?
7, 8. See, some of them are very big.
Yeah.
So there's like one on my back, and now 3 of the larger ones kind of blend together. So yeah, I think 7 or 8.
Okay, and there's that look. Is that a work in progress? Like that looks like it's incomplete.
It is not incomplete.
Okay, my apologies.
Offensive.
I'm offending you.
Wow. This is a
met.
Mr. Koo. If you look at Mr. Koo's work, it's so interesting. And some people feel like I think it's incomplete because of
no color.
There's no color, and also it's like variations of kind of heaviness, right? But that's just kind of his style. Okay. And
I'm ignorant, Allison. So my humble apologies.
No, it's okay.
I know, but I can't imagine a worse insult. Somebody's got a beautiful piece of art on their arm. It's permanent, and some asshole says that's a work in progress. Come on.
You know what? I see where you're coming from, and some people probably would punch you right in the face.
Feel free.
I just don't get real sensitive about it. But I was recently at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida.
Wow.
And the server was like, "Oh, you had some stuff added to that." And I was like, "No, it's just like that. Don't worry about it. Just get out of town, man."
Get out of town. I can't believe there's two Hollywoods. Oh my goodness. There's a Hollywood, Florida now. Okay. So I was going to shout you out for making the trip and being here in person for this great in-depth interview because your brother zoomed in, which means he did not receive a lasagna from Palma Pasta. Allison, you're not leaving here without a lasagna. It's in my freezer right now.
That's very exciting.
And you're going to enjoy this because it's a delicious lasagna.
First of all, my brother loves lasagna, so he's going to be
He's
sad
going to have to
about
get
it.
his ass down here when he's in town.
Honestly, but that's very exciting. I'm incredibly excited about that, to be honest with you.
Is that a legit excitement? You're not bullshitting me.
I'm not. This is for real.
Okay.
This is for real. Because often if places give you like a little gift bag when you're leaving or whatever, it's okay, this is fine. It's always a nice thought. But often it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. A lasagna? I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. I love lasagna. I'm basically Garfield.
Yeah. You're Garfield. You're going to have like leftovers. This might be your meal for like several days. There's a lot of lasagna and it's all yours. It's all yours. More gifts for you later, but I saw you were photographed by Lisa McIntosh. And Lisa came over here and shot me and she's lovely. So I just wanted to shout out Lisa McIntosh.
I love that. Yeah, does this incredible series. And we have a mutual friend who connected us. And so she came down to the old Sirius building and took some shots in the
Is that on Liberty Street?
That's where it was.
Okay.
It used to be on Liberty Street and in this old factory, right? So the stairwells are very rough. And we like that as a backdrop. And yeah, she's incredibly talented and a lovely human being.
Okay, we're going to get into your relationship with Sirius, without a doubt. But there's another question for you. Look, all the questions off the top, and then we could just dive right in. Have you made it to Ottawa to try Mr. Patate's fries? I don't know if I said patate right.
You know what? I can't remember how you say it. And so
Patate?
this came from Leonard, who is one of my Twitter friends. And he works at the Heart Institute in Ottawa, or he might work at the Civic. Leonard, I forget exactly where you work, but I used to work at the Heart Institute.
Lenny. Oh.
And this is the chip truck that has parked outside of the Heart Institute for like decades. And so, yeah, obviously I used to eat there all the time. And so he got a video of the guy who has been running the chip truck forever. And he's one of those guys who literally every day is in such a great mood. Like it could be 1,000 degrees outside. So it's 10,000 degrees in his chip truck.
Right.
And he just seems like this is the greatest day of his life, serving all these dumb
I like
people
those kind of
chips.
people because they cheer you up when you're kind of, feeling bummed about something and you're like, I feel better now. Like
It's aspirational. How
Yeah.
are you this happy right now? So he made a video of him asking why I haven't been to the chip truck lately and then tweeted it out. And so I'm pretty sure that's where that came from. So I have not been back to the chip truck since I saw the video, but next time I'm in Ottawa, I'm definitely going to go by.
When was the last time you were in Ottawa?
Oh, that's a good question. I think last summer, maybe.
Okay. I'm full of good questions.
Yeah.
Buckle up, Allison. You're in for a hell of a ride. Okay.
I'm stoked.
Evan Carter.
Yeah.
You got your own FOADs. FOADs. Okay. You got your own FOADs.
He's my friend for real, though.
Oh, he's a real life friend.
He's a for real friend. I know. He said something nice, I think.
Yeah, it's lovely here. I've known Allison for many years. No questions. I'm just writing to say how great she is.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best. He's a sweet, lovely human. And that's so kind. Hi, Evan. You're the best.
And that's not your burner account. Like, there is an Evan Carter. Okay.
There is an Evan Carter. He's a fabulous comedian. And, multi-talented guy.
I like funny people.
He's very funny.
I like laughing.
Me too.
Okay, well, let's try to make each other laugh throughout this several hours.
Now I feel pressure.
Yeah, do people you go to parties and they're like, oh, there's funny persons here. Be funny.
Yes, and it's the worst.
And it sucks, right?
Yes, and I hate it. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it when you're all staring at me.
Okay. Welcome to my world. I go to parties. They're like, Mike, be handsome. I'm like, I can't just turn it on like that. Come on. Okay. Dan. Dan, just goes by the name Dan. Dan says, ask her about her views on millennials who have never seen dun-dun, Law and Order.
Okay, this is Dan, who listens to my show, The Breakdown.
The Breakdown. Where do we hear The Breakdown?
You hear The Breakdown on Sirius XM channel 167 from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, Monday to Friday.
But how come you're not there right now? Because it's now it's between 3 to 5.
It is between 3 and 5. Because Cassandra, my co-host and producer, is off for a couple weeks. And so I decided to take a few of those days off. And then you had kindly invited me on the show. And so I organized it for a day when I have an album recording in Toronto tonight. So I have to be in Toronto anyway. And then this way I don't have to try and figure out how to do it around my show.
You are wise. And that's why I try to be flexible, because when people don't live like, a short bike ride away, who just biked over? Somebody just
Alan Frew? Does Alan Frew ride a bike?
He does. He actually drove here. And I got this feeling from Alan, which was a lovely conversation. He's a very kind man. But I got a feeling like there was a big soccer match, like in Europe, but it was, he's not going to go to Europe. He's going to watch on TV.
They call it football.
They do call it football. Yes, right. I'm exposing myself here. But I got the feeling like he was worried about the traffic and getting back for the kickoff of this big football match. He was really excited to watch. So I actually started getting a feeling like, I should set him free. He's got football to watch. It's like, we did an hour and something, but I feel like I had more in the tank.
Alan, it's gonna be 0-0 when you get there. Like, don't worry about it. Okay, there's my first hot sports take for the listeners.
Oh, that's funny. Absolutely. It's going to be 0-0. Good bet on that one. Okay, so The Breakdown, is it reruns this week?
Oh, it's best ofs. Yeah. Just yesterday and today. And so to answer
we got to get back
Dan's
to Law and
question.
Order. And then I'll find out who the hell biked here. You do the Law and Order answer and I'll dig that info up.
Here is the thing. So Cassandra is like in her mid-30s. And so she's 5 minutes younger than me, let's say.
How old are you, Allison Dore?
I'm 44.
How old's your brother?
47.
Okay, you're 44.
Yeah.
Just a kid. Okay.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you.
Just a puppy.
Acknowledge how young I am.
Kurt Swinghammer is the man who biked here on Monday. Kurt Swinghammer, local musician. He's a pretty cool guy. Please continue, Allison Dore.
Look at Kurt showing off. Oh, I own a bike and I can
and
ride it in traffic.
And his dad was a Swinghammer. And then I made a terrible joke about how Mike Myers was inspired by his father, Swinghammer.
That's not a terrible joke.
Okay, thank you, because you know comedy, which we'll get teaser for later.
Yeah.
You know your comedy.
I do know.
We're going to get to that. Okay. So Law and Order, which by the way, I'll tell you, I watched it on A&E every night at 11 p.m. for years, and I watched it like it was my religion.
Well, and there would be weekends where they're like, it's all Law and Order this weekend. Yeah. And so Cassandra, who I don't know what she was watching as a child, and a frequent topic on our show, because we're entertainment focused, is like the number of things she hasn't seen.
Right.
And she has never in her life seen an episode of Law and Order, any of them.
Wow.
And to me, it's not that I think she should have been sitting down and watching the show every night at 11. It's that, how is it possible to live in North America during the time she's been alive, especially that phase in the late 90s, early 2000s,
right,
when Law & Order was literally on 18 channels?
Yeah, but you're young. If you're 35, because I know how old I am, which is more than a decade older. I'm like a year older than your brother. And I know that I was the right age for that A&E thing when it was coming on in the early 90s. But I mean, if you were 35, you're just too young for Law & Order, aren't you?
I don't think there was a solid decade where it's like you're flipping through the channels.
Right.
That was still a time when we were all beholden to cable and network television. And I'm like,
you're the stations.
Yeah, you're telling, or even in a hotel room at some point, like you never caught a quarter of an episode. Like, what do you mean?
Allison, I need to ask you a Law and Order question. My favorite detective on Law and Order is played by an actor who has been canceled.
Uh-oh.
Mike Logan is my favorite detective. I always loved Mike Logan, played by Chris Noth.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, we all know what's happened there. But, by the way, he had a heart attack in a Peloton.
Yep.
And
Sure did.
Yesterday, I was flipping through Twitter, and it's like 5 million Peloton bikes must be have a safety flaw and must be like you must stop using it immediately. Like this was like a
Peloton's
Peloton
having
headline.
a really hard time.
Do you have a Peloton?
I don't.
No, me neither.
I'm
Me
not.
neither.
I'm not a.
Well, it killed
spinner.
it killed Mike Logan. Anyway,
Well, it killed Mr. Big.
Mr. Big,
Like it. Oh yeah, he did die.
He died.
I didn't watch the reboot there.
he died, but then they would have killed him off anyways because it was like right after that he died is when
he got canceled.
He got canceled, right? He got Me Too'd out of there.
And so I think it worked out for the best. I think Peloton was freaking out at first because clearly they didn't tell them what was going to happen on that bike.
Right.
And then they turned it around. Ryan Reynolds helped them turn it around with a fun little commercial. And
That's
then
right.
Peloton was like, "We did it!" And then
they're
everyone
like,
was like, "Chris
"Delete."
Noth is a perv," and they were like, "Oh."
And they're like, Brian's like, I don't want to delete this from YouTube. I never did this. What was the other Peloton? Remember the ad where it looked like the woman was like her husband said, "For Christmas, I got you a Peloton," and she had that look like she was like a Stepford wife or something.
Yes. And we all were like, that's an abusive relationship.
Right.
And then Ryan Reynolds stepped in there and put her
You know
in an
what?
aviation gin commercial.
Is there? Yes, that's right. You're absolutely. What is this, man? Ryan's just coming like a Superman. He's going to buy the Ottawa Senators. He's got some Wrexham football club in.
And they just won the championship and moved up a league.
Yeah, and
He's the real Ted Lasso.
He's the real Ted Lasso. I find Ted Lasso, and I do watch, and I do I think it's a easy to watch show and an enjoyable show. There's one episode in Amsterdam recently, which I actually really, really liked. It's like my favorite episode of Ted Lasso ever. But he reminds me too much of Ned Flanders. Like he's
sure.
he's a little more risque than Ned Flanders because I think he fucks or whatever. Although Ned,
he
Ned
sure
does
do.
too. But
Yeah, Ned does too. That's a good point.
yeah, but I just find him a little too Ned Flanders-ish, and I don't know. But I do watch. You're watching, right?
I haven't watched the most recent season yet, but I do love it. And I'm more of a Coach Beard kind of gal. Like I love Ted.
He wrote this Amsterdam. Obviously,
Okay,
the guy
so
who plays him wrote the Amsterdam episode.
Brendan Hunt. If you listen to Brendan Hunt and Jason Sudeikis on Brene Brown's podcast, he had a lot of pivotal experiences in Amsterdam. And so I'm not surprised to hear that.
Have you ever been to Amsterdam?
I have not.
Okay. Be careful if you do bike in Amsterdam because it's a completely different universe of cycling there. Like you got to stick to these rules. Be careful even walking around. It's a whole thing. But it's cool. But you can't just do it like a Canadian or whatever. You have to kind of watch them for a little bit and then try to do it like they do
their
it.
bikes work different?
They go slower.
Okay.
Anyway, and they have a whole this is how we roll, and you got to get in. You can't be weak of heart. And you know about hearts because you worked for the Heart Foundation.
The Heart Institute.
Okay, close enough.
It was very close. Heart is in both of them.
Okay, so now that we've addressed the Law and Order thing, although I do think a 35-year-old might have missed Law and Order.
I just think not even one episode. What do you mean?
I've never seen an episode of CSI.
Yeah, but I feel like
That's
CSI
different.
there was never like marathons of CSI. You know what I mean? Law and Order, literally, I'm not joking. Annie
Right.
would be like, this weekend we're only playing Law and
Okay,
Order for
but
the whole
she's
weekend.
35. She might not have ever thought to flip over to A&E.
You know what,
Maybe that's a
Mike?
little dusty.
Honestly, I don't like your defense.
Cassandra's a
of
lovely name. I just feel,
Cassandra.
lovely name.
She's, again, this is just shocking to me. And it's not necessarily a flaw in her personality, although it is a red flag. Quite frankly.
And she's got all this vacation time she's taking. Oh
Right?
my goodness, there should be an episode today. Why not me? Like, why not just, hey, Toronto Mike, you're going to be my co-host for the episode today.
Oh, but Mike,
Is it too late?
it is too late for today, for
All right.
sure.
Okay.
For sure. Also, you know what? We just didn't do that, Mike.
Well, we only just
dropped
met.
the ball.
We only just met.
That is true.
So how the hell could you? You would be ridiculous if you did that. We just met. So now we have a rapport. Who knows what the future holds? But let's go back. So you're from Ottawa.
Yes.
John, we established, has a few years on you. He's a few
Yes.
years older than you. So please, I want to understand the role of John
Mm-hmm.
in you, immersing yourself in the world of comedy.
So as a kid, I was always an actor and I wanted to be an actor. And so weirdly, like I was performing before he was, but only as an actor. And, you know, taking classes and doing plays and all that garbage. And then when I was about 18, I remember, it's so funny. I can remember as we were sitting in a Subway sandwich shop on Maryville Road. And he said, I think I want to get on stage. And I was like, yeah, you should. And then he was like, I want to be a comedian. And I'm like, crazy, do it. And so probably about 3 years later, he would always, I like to say he forced me to do it. And then he gets mad about that. But he would always encourage me to try it. And I would always say, I'm not funny like that. And he's like, no, there's only one kind of funny and you're so funny and you have to do. Right. And so after about 3 years, I was like, okay, I'll try it one time. And then, unfortunately, the first time I did stand up, I did not bomb. And that meant it felt pretty good. Right. Right. You get a little dopamine hit. You get a little bit high off of that laughter. Yeah. And I probably didn't bomb. And don't get me wrong, I'm not killing either, but I did okay for like the first 3 months. And so by the time I bombed and it felt so bad, I was already hooked. Right. And so then I was stuck. So yeah, I mean, I never would have attempted stand up if John hadn't been encouraging me to do it. So I'm trying to understand everything pre-Humble and Fred, right? Because that's where I kind of discover you exist, and then I have questions that, you know, I was there for and everything, and then we know what's happened. We're going to talk about what happened since then. But so you're in Ottawa and you enjoy stand-up comedy like this. You enjoy it. I enjoy it somewhat. I mean, acting was still my focus. I went to Concordia for theater performance for a year and a half, and then I dropped out of that. And yeah, a hot take. Don't go to university if you want to be an actor. It's stupid. And then when I was 23, I had a nervous breakdown. So that really pumped the brakes on some stuff. Moved back in with my parents. Couldn't work. Real sad all the time. Also started self-medicating. Do you want to get more specific, or is it uncomfortable for you to revisit? Oh, no. So like, what do you mean? Like, drinking? Oh, drinking and smoking weed. And prior to this, I was pretty teetotal, right? Like, I think I got drunk like 3 times in high school, and I maybe smoked pot 3 times in high school. Sure. And then I didn't do any of that probably till I was about 21 or 22. And then I've always had mental health issues, and undiagnosed until I was about 20. And then I went into, what they now call a major depressive episode. I think that nervous breakdown sounds fancier in a way. It sounds fun and dramatic, like I'm a lady in the 1950s and I'm on my divan and I'm very fabulous and sad. Right. So I still say nervous breakdown, but, yeah. And so then. Is that why your show's called The Breakdown? It's not, but when we were brainstorming names and someone said The Breakdown, and then he goes, it has 2 meanings. Right. And I'm like, joke's on you, it does, and I love it. Right. So yeah, we hold on to that. Okay. I'll put a pin in that. Is that what they do in boardrooms? Okay, so you have what you're describing as a nervous breakdown, but it's a depressive episode, and you seek some mental health attention. Well, yeah. I mean, this is so I had a regular therapist, and she was, monitoring the situation. And it's interesting, at that time, I did feel like I needed to be hospitalized, but the healthcare system in this country is, unfortunately, we don't have enough resources. And so at that time, and it might be the same now, I don't know, if you were not actively suicidal, there was no bed for you. Oh, yeah, because you're not a harm to yourself or others. Therefore, essentially, yes. So it's like they'll prescribe you medications to take at home, and then they'll follow up with you. If you're just thinking about suicide, we don't have space for you. Let us know when you try. Wow. And so, yeah, but so I basically, I couldn't work. I moved back in with my parents. I slept a lot. I drank a lot. I smoked a lot of weed. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it started getting better. Well, good. Okay, so yes, is it getting better? So
The drinking and the weed. I mean, weed's a whole like they're kind of two different things. But like, did you at
they're
some
not,
point?
But go on.
Okay. Well, I feel like you get cannabis. Some kind of weed might be prescribed to you to help with like anxiety and different mental health.
That is true. However, here's the thing: like, weed has really been put into a separate category, and it is still a drug. And so I'm 100% pro legalization. I want everyone to smoke all the weed. I want you to think about me when you do it. But I did at 30 go to rehab for weed.
Okay.
And so, yes, again, anything in moderation, right, could be beneficial. But anything that's going to change the chemistry of your brain has the potential to screw you over in the end.
Okay, because I feel like there's it's got a rep. And it's from, what's the movie with Dave Chappelle and Bob Saget? And it was filmed in Toronto. High.
It's not. It doesn't have high in it.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna get this. Let's do this together. Dave Chappelle and the Bob.
Now it's gonna have
Saget
high in it, and I'm gonna be embarrassed.
Movie. Yes, you will. Half Baked. There's no high in it.
See, I knew it.
You're right. Allison gets
I'm the
a point.
winner.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so there's a scene in Half Baked. It's a great scene actually, where they're in some kind of Narcotics Anonymous or some kind of group, like an NA group or something, and then someone's in there because they're addicted to weed, and I think Bob Saget stands up and goes, "Have you ever sucked dick for marijuana?" And he goes, "Because I suck dick for crack." And he goes, "You can't get a dick." So
it is possible to suck dick for marijuana, by the way.
But it's not this, right? Because of the scene, and what do I know? I don't smoke a lot of weed myself.
Listen,
but people are like, you can't get addicted to weed.
Do you think the crackheads I was in rehab with respected me as a person?
Right. They're like,
no, of course
weed?
They didn't.
Is that even drug? Right.
Of course they didn't. And I was like, I can't help it if I'm this good at being addicted to drugs. Okay.
Right.
So certainly no, there is this idea. And I think growing up, they talk about how you can't be, you can only be psychologically addicted to it. You can't be physically.
Oh, not chemically addicted.
Which
right.
is also kind of not true, but it's certainly to a way lesser extent than, say, a heroin, right?
Right. Or like cigarettes have nicotine, which is highly addictive.
Sure.
And that you get a chemical, you need the nicotine in your
system. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The psychological aspects of addiction are actually the hardest ones to break.
Right.
Because they're the ones, that's where cravings come from. That's where, and so the idea that you can't be addicted to it is not actually true.
Right. Well, you literally went into a program because of your addiction to weed. And
I went to the Gene Tweed Center. It's very close to here.
New Toronto. Absolutely. I bike by it all the time. Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. It's not far from there. They filmed Police Academy. That's the. I know you know, but I have to tell you anyways.
I know they filmed some of it in Liberty Village too.
Yes, and they filmed. The scene. There's a scene in Suicide Squad, which is a movie I've never seen, but I saw the scene referred to. I saw it on YouTube. But in Suicide Squad, there's some scene where they're under a building, and that's actually under the same building at Humber College.
Oh, fun!
There you go.
It's a good movie set.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's just so you're in Ottawa, and you're recovering. Like I'm guessing you'll tell me you were able to get off of marijuana.
Oh, not in Ottawa. No, that was in Toronto.
This is in
Toronto.
Was a long
time
yes,
later.
because Tweed is near here. Okay, so now you're in Toronto. So why did you move to Toronto? Because that's where everything's happening?
Well, yeah, but because I still wanted to be an actor.
Right.
Right? And then even with stand-up, you're only going to go so far in Ottawa.
Right.
And I was in denial about A, my mental health, and B, my drug use at that point. Because I was a lot better than I had been, but I was still on shaky ground. Yeah.
So okay. So in the timeline of things, as I map it out over here, okay, it's like the wire here. I got like a board here. I'm Lester Freeman connecting everything. Where are we in relation to when I discover you exist? Because you are recording this Ward and Al podcast at Humble and Fred's studio.
So that was post rehab. That was about 3 years post rehab.
So in that 3-year period, you're are you auditioning for things? Are you honing your craft of comedy? What does the 3 years look like?
In those 3 years, I was auditioning. I was doing stand-up. I was doing... for part of it, I was waitressing. For part of it, I was doing closed captioning at the Score.
Oh, yeah.
And I was also cater waitering. And then I added the podcast to the mix.
Closed captioning at the Score. Is that
Sure.
that was Peter Street and King? Is
Yeah.
that- okay, yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, okay. That's interesting. So why? That was a gig for money.
Yes.
Okay. You're not a big sports fan, are you?
No.
No, but you're just closed
During that time,
captioning
I
at the
knew a
Score.
lot because closed captioning at the Score, they did it the cheapest way possible, which is voice to text. So I would get a feed that was like 20 seconds ahead of what you see on your TV. And everything they say on the TV, I'm repeating into a microphone that is then turning it into text.
Okay.
Which, apologies to anyone hard of hearing, because it is not a very accurate system.
So can't you cut out the middleman there? Like I don't understand. So
Because it has to be trained to one voice.
okay,
Right?
okay.
It can't, when there's different
Right.
voices, then it will screw up more. So that's why
Right.
you have to have a person.
That's fascinating. I never
do
knew.
it that
So
way.
so you're hearing and you're saying it into some microphone, and then it's spitting out the other end in text.
Yes.
And what about what do they call it? OCR? I can't remember. There was a term for this back in the day, but okay. This like players' names. Okay, so when it comes to Edwin Encarnacion or whatever,
Yep.
you just hope it spits out reasonably close.
Well, you can also, we would also have to do like training of where you're repeating words when you're
Interesting.
not on air.
How long
So
did you do
you're-
this for?
Year and a half.
Did you have a favorite broadcaster to repeat? I'm trying to remember who was there.
Oh, no, listen. My favorite was when wrestling was on. Because at that time, the Score was the home of the WWE.
Right. I think Jackie Redmond and stuff was, I think, yeah.
This was
I'm
even
with you.
pre-Jackie Redmond.
Pre-Jackie Redmond, right.
And so, because when I was there, Jackie was on the search for the next sportscaster or whatever.
Right.
And so, yeah, when I have gone through wrestling phases in my life, right? When I was a little kid, I loved it. And then there was a time in my late teens, early 20s when I loved it. No, I clocked all your stuff. Don't worry.
Just going to put him on
Yeah, get that guy over here.
George the Animal Steel. Shout out to Stu Stone.
But so that was the best because got to watch wrestling for 3 hours.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
look at you. Okay. So what brought you to, how did you get hooked up with the happenings on 30th Street at that time? And now I'm going to say 2011. Maybe it's 2011.
Yeah, around there.
Because I know we launched the daily Humble and Fred show because I was doing the back end stuff there at the time. That's why I was involved. It was October 2011 when we started doing it daily. So at that time, how did you get involved with what was happening there?
To be honest, okay, so what happened was I had been at a club and I was featuring, and this guy Ward was headlining. And it was the first time we met. We didn't really know each other. And then a couple weeks after that, he was filling in for someone on News Talk 1010 when one of those articles came out about can women scientifically even be funny? And I was the last woman he worked with. So he asked if I wanted
He
to
said,
come on and talk
Allison's a
with-
woman.
Yeah. Allison's a woman, and I just saw her on stage talking into microphone. She thinks she's funny. Yeah, so he asked me if I wanted to come on and talk about it.
Okay.
And we had a good little back and forth. And then he messaged me a little while later and was like, do you want to do a podcast? And I don't know if I've made this clear, Mike, but so my life was, I was working overnights at the Score,
Yeah.
doing closed captioning.
Yeah.
Also cater waitering, because
Right.
nothing pays enough money. Doing stand-up. And basically, never sleeping. My life is terrible. And I had thought when I got out of rehab, I'm like, obviously now I'm going to take off.
Right.
Didn't happen. So I was like, yeah, let's throw something else at the wall. And often, he was the one that talked to Humble and Fred and was like, can we use your studio?
I think he was buds with Howard from some stand-up.
Yes.
I think so. So I think that's so. And this is Ward Anderson, of course.
Yes.
Okay. So I had an issue early in my. I was doing my. I had a. In fact, I just started recording a different podcast with her. But Rosie was my co-host when I was doing those 19 episodes at Humble and Fred Studios, and I had never spoken. I didn't even have stand-up background, so I never talked into a mic before. So I was just figuring it all out. And I think Ward would crash the recording and just sit down and talk on the mics uninvited, and I always thought that was an interesting move. But okay. So you're doing a podcast with Ward Anderson. How does that get you onto Sirius XM? Like, tell me.
So I was talking to my therapist about this today, and because it's insane, like I shouldn't be where I am. So we happened to reach out to them because there was these other comics that had a podcast that would get played on their comedy channel. And we were like, well, maybe they would play ours like once a week in the middle of the night or something.
And we should point out, 2011 is still early days for podcasts, so not everybody's got a podcast.
Yeah, it wasn't quite. I mean, it was starting to boom, but it wasn't quite. Like, I feel like Serial hadn't come out yet.
Oh, no, it's absolutely pre-Serial. Absolutely. Because I started my show in 2012. And I had years of recording before Serial showed up.
Yeah, and I feel like Serial was the real turning point, right?
Right.
But so we happened to reach out, and it right at the time where they were launching a new talk channel. And basically they had spent all the real money on legitimate broadcasters. And
who were they, by the way? Do you remember?
the only person that's still there,
can I guess?
That was a real person.
Can I get Arlene Bynon?
Yes. She's the only one that's still there.
Don't you think she talks too slow?
I mean, I think
That's
it depends on what
question.
you're into. She's very NPR-ish, kind of, right?
I think she should be a podcaster that you could play at 2 times the speed.
Oh, sure.
This is Mike
I
talking,
could see
not
that.
Allison, everybody. Okay.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I don't care, but I think there's some people that very much like it. But yeah, obviously I don't talk that slow.
No, I like your tempo.
But so they needed people who would work cheap and wouldn't 100% suck. And we just happened to get in touch like right at the right time. And then we had like a million meetings and started on a 3-month trial contract. And then tomorrow will be my 10-year anniversary.
May 13th.
May 13th is my 10-year
That's
anniversary
okay.
at
So
Sirius.
That's okay. Like, forget how much they're paying you. Okay, well,
Sure.
we need to get touch on that in a minute.
It's easy to do.
Insert joke here. Okay, I'm just setting you up for that one, Allison. But okay, so forget that for a minute. The fact that you're now on satellite radio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone in Arkansas can tune you in, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's pretty amazing.
no one's asked to put me on satellite radio. You know, I've only done 1,254 episodes.
They didn't ask, right? Like someone was once like, didn't they seek you out? And I was like, no, of course not. What are you talking about? Like
what do you
it
mean they
was
didn't ask?
literally just
Yeah. We need content.
they were like, we need content. A bunch of people submitted stuff and submitted podcast episodes and stuff like that. And I honestly think a lot of it was timing on our part. And then don't get me wrong, like I think there's definitely some skill set there and stuff like that, but it was just really fortuitous when we happened to reach out. And then when we happened to follow up, it was also at a very good time, right? And that's all coincidental. But it is incredible to be there. And the thing where I am so amazingly lucky is that, so today my therapist thought that I was not like taking ownership of my abilities. And I was like, no, you have to understand, like, it was a brand new channel. And so even though I did have some skills and like stand-up helped and podcasting helped, I wasn't a broadcaster. I didn't know ins and outs. I didn't know any of that. And I was allowed to learn on the job and grow. And I don't know when that ever happens in radio.
No, right.
And so it was only, and if
That's like a cable 10 thing.
yeah, like I think it's just because it was a brand new channel and they were like, man, we'll give it some time. And so I lucked out in 1,000 different ways of being able, and then discovering, oh my God, this is my dream job. Like, this is what I want to do. And so ever since then, it's just been, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to get better. And I still feel that way after 10 years, which is nutbags.
Wow. Do you have any idea how many unique episodes you've recorded? Like, do you have any concept of that? No, you're not counting
I don't
that.
know.
So, I count mine because it's fun. But okay, that's a long time. So,
I'm not a good counter. I'm not entirely sure what day it is. So
You're on the air right now. What are you doing here, Allison?
Oh, no.
Get your ass to Liberty Village there. Okay. And to be clear, I'm trying to remember the difference because Humble and Fred had a 5-year deal. Also, little money exchanging hands, but they were on. They were the morning show on Sirius XM Canada Laughs, but you're on Sirius XM Canada Talks.
yeah.
So were you ever on laughs, or they said, no, you're
No.
you're a talker, not a laugher, Allison Dore?
No, we were specifically hired for the talk channel.
167, everybody.
Yes.
And the breakdown is, you said 2 to 5, right?
3 to 5.
But it was 2 to 5.
It was 2 to 5.
You lost an hour. What happened there?
They were moving around the schedule, and they said, how do you feel about going down to 2 hours? And I said, as long as I get paid the same, that's amazing.
And how much is it they pay you?
Yeah, I can't go that far. But let me just say, people think I'm rich, and it's cute.
Well, I saw
Because
you
I
drove
blur.
up in that Lamborghini Countach, and I said,
yeah.
oh, Allison's doing all right.
Okay, it's hot takes time. I'm
Right.
going to tell you this right now. No matter how much money I ever have, I will never drive a Lamborghini. They're dumb. Okay? I'm on the record, guys. I think they're dumb.
Not even on a nice summer day.
It's ridiculous. Why are they so low to the ground? Who's buying this car? They make
Men with small penises buy
sports
that
cars
car.
make me insane because I'm like, nothing about this is practical or makes sense. I don't think they look good. I don't like the Lamborghinis. To me, I'm like, it looks like an alien came down. And then I got to try and get in this car that's basically 1 inch off the ground. I'm fine,
you're
thank
very
you.
low. You're on the ground.
Yeah, I don't like that. I like high. I would rather get in a truck or a Jeep. I like to be high. I don't want to have to like yoga myself into a car.
I love your hot takes. Keep them coming here. Oh, here.
Thanks.
I know they're maybe not compensating you as much as they should for the great work you do, but I'm going to give you a wireless speaker. I'm giving it to you, but it's actually courtesy of Moneris.
Oh.
You can blast your beats on there, Allison. You can
at
blast your Elvis
this.
Costello, but you also have to promise me that you will listen to season 4 of Yes, We Are Open, which is an award-winning podcast from Moneris, and it's hosted by FOTM Al Grego, who missed his very first ever TMLX event yesterday. He's 11 for 12, but Michael Lang is 12 for 12. Shout out to the Langer. Anyway, Al, you're like an entrepreneur, so I think you'd be inspired by these stories. Al's collecting. He's collecting them and he's correcting them.
I will. I have not listened to the show yet, but I am familiar. And it does sound like a great show and a great idea.
And you got a great new speaker
Yes.
to listen to that show on. Okay, and since I'm giving you gifts here, I want to give you measuring tape. Allison,
Great.
You never know when you got to measure something, right? You got to measure
It's so
this.
true.
This is courtesy of Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of this community
know
since
what?
1921.
First of all,
You got a hot take on that? I want to hear it.
Ridley, this is a weird one. Why is this so you can measure your casket? Is this like how,
Alan Frew made the same joke, Allison.
because it's the only place you can go. Why else would they have a like? Don't get me wrong. I made the mistake when I started my record label of buying way too much merch and
Swag.
being like, "This is so fun. People will love this." And I don't get this. I don't get it at all. But
when that's in your, you carry a purse?
yes. I
Okay,
do.
when you you realize you need to measure something and you're out there and you go, oh, I have that Ridley Funeral Home measuring tape in my purse, you're going to say, oh, that's why.
if I use this, am I now contractually obligated to die at
How
Ridley
close to
Funeral
death
Home?
are you? I need. They need to know for
Who
their record
knows?
keeping.
It's anyone's guess, to be honest with you. But what I like about this, it is very convenient, right?
Yeah,
it's very
it's-
small.
I
I just purchased, the big metal one where you can measure things.
You
But
wasted
this
all
is
that money on the big
pocket
metal
size.
one.
Well, no, I'm still gonna probably need that for
industrial sites,
for
right? when you're-
home reno.
Are you
projects or
are you
something.
handy?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I will always give things a go before I call in a professional. So, for instance, I recently took the U pipe out from under my sink and cleaned it out of God knows what was
A lot of people
chunks.
would probably be phoning someone to do that, but you did that yourself. Did you go to
Mm-hmm.
YouTube and see a video and just to learn how to do it?
I watched the YouTube video to see how to get the pipe out of there because it also didn't. The pipes under my sink are weird. I think they did something, but so yeah, because my main question, the reason I went to the video, normally what I like to do is not look at any resources and just see if I can figure it out, which goes bad 98% of the time. So I watched the YouTube video because I was like, do I have to turn off the water if I take this pipe out? I don't think so.
And the answer
But-
is you did, right?
No, I didn't.
See, I haven't
And-
seen the video, obviously.
Yeah. So, because it's just the pipe under the sink, right? I was like, well, if there's no water going into
Right.
the sink, why would I have to? But I like to double check these things because I once
Smart.
tried to fix my own dryer and almost electrocuted myself. Anyway,
Oh, no.
So yeah, I watched the video to see if I to turn off the water or not.
See to me, because I try to, although my wife is very handy, and I've been calling her Mag Ruffman. I don't know if you remember Mag Ruffman, but she was always fixing things on the TV, and I said, like, she's like Mag Ruffman. But okay, to me, the plumbing thing, the worst that's going to happen is a mess. Like, you know what I mean? But when you're with the electrical thing, you're going to die.
I know. Yeah, I thought I unplugged the dryer, but it turned out I unplugged the washer. And but
See, I'd be shutting. I can't take the risk. I'm shutting it all down.
This is what I've learned: is you got to turn it off at the breaker.
Right.
It's better safe than sorry.
Better safe because we're kind of like Ridley's thinking, oh, they're going to see Allison Dore at their door in like 40, 50 years. But with the way that reckless behavior with the dryer, he'll be there next week, maybe this weekend.
Ridley, it's a miracle I've made it this far. So I look forward to.
But that's one thing. The addiction to cannabis. The one thing is you don't hear a lot about like people who die from cannabis overdose.
No, that's the thing. Is if you overdose on weed, you're gonna barf a lot
and eat a lot of Cheetos.
Well, no, that you're gonna do that no matter what. But yeah, there's just a lot of throwing up. So
like there's things you could sorry.
So like weed is a harm reduction drug for a lot of people, right? So it's like if you're addicted to heroin but you're trying to get off heroin, people will smoke weed, and that's a better choice because it's safer.
Right.
And so there's a million reasons why people don't feel like weed counts as a drug. And I get all those reasons. I'm just like, okay, but the only problem is by perpetuating that. First of all, I know tons of people who for sure addicted to weed.
They're smoking too much weed. It demotivates you. It eats up that free time when you experiment and you
and when you wake up in the morning, you're foggy. You're not at your best, right?
Right.
And this is what I tell comics.
You shouldn't be driving. You shouldn't be operating heavy machinery.
Driving is way more fun when you're high, but but you shouldn't though.
Right.
But this is working in stand up.
Yeah.
Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. So being fucked up is part of it's almost expected. And what I tell like newer people into it is like, look, if you are drinking or doing drugs more days a week than you're not, it's affecting your career, whether you think it is or not. And one of my kind of pet peeves, and especially around drinking, is we only talk in terms of like addiction and then everything's fine. And we don't talk about the gray area in between. And you don't have to be a full-blown addict to have it affect your life, right?
Right.
And so it's like for people who are in that questioning phase of, is this too much? Should I look at how it's affecting my life? Should I? It's like, well, yeah, probably you should. But all the people around you are going to tell you it's fine because if you start thinking about it, that they feel like they have to start thinking about it. And so that's my whole thing with weed is like, for some people, it is negative affecting them. Most people, you smoke a joint a day, you're probably fine. Some people go way past that and it is affecting their life. But if you talk about it, you usually get made fun of. Right. I get made fun of all the time for going to rehab for it.
That's Bob Saget's fault.
I do blame Bob Saget. No, I don't. Oh my God, R.I.P. No, it's everybody's fault. Like everybody thinks that.
Well, I'm glad you're talking about it because it's probably something that we should probably demystify and speak about these things and not be afraid of people calling you somebody. It's just a plant, man. It's just a plant.
Yeah, and it is just a plant, and that's awesome. It just can also, it's too good. That's the problem. It's too good.
See, I was thinking, so we're learning about, of course, your battles with mental illness and addiction. And if you were here a couple of months ago, I had a cannabis sponsor. I had a cannabis sponsor and a beer sponsor. And I was thinking, oh, how inappropriate is that? But I do not have the cannabis sponsor. But okay. So FOTM Jay Brody.
Sweet, beautiful angel Jay Brody.
Yes. Great guy. Been on here multiple times. In fact, he used to come on with Roddy Colmer.
Yep.
And then he'd come on solo. He's been over a million times. He came on with his team that was at one point the Y108 morning team, Morning Grind. And then they were just dropped into CFNY as the 102.1 morning show before Jay Brody moved out west, of course. So
and abandoned all of us.
He abandoned. He just up and left. I'm out of here. Peace out. Okay. So we're going to get to Jay Brody's question because then I can dive into Howl and Roar records. And I'm really excited to do that. But let me just finish this like thread of like your broadcasting on SiriusXM. So I'm curious, and you can share what you want, but why did Ward and Al become the breakdown? Like that sounds wordless.
Oh yeah, because Ward left.
Okay, so did Ward just, and I don't, at the time, I just know you said 10 years, but a bunch of those
been there
years,
for 10
you've been
years.
there 10 years, but a bunch of those years in the beginning was Ward and Al as like a duo.
Yeah, the first 5 years.
Okay, and then
Ward-
he left the show.
Yeah.
And you're there 5 years later kicking ass and taking names.
Yes.
Where do you keep those names?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know? Listen, here's the thing. I believe in being the bigger person and forgiving, but I don't forget, my friend. Okay? And
So you have a list.
I do have a list.
Okay, will you
There
show
is
me
a
after
list.
the recording?
Oh, no one gets to see lists, Mike. Come on.
I want to see the list.
No
Okay.
one gets to see the list.
All I know is I'm not on the list because we just met each other. So I might be on
You're
it tomorrow.
not on the list yet.
When you leave the show, I'll be added to the list. Okay. So the question from Jay Brody. Her Juno Award-winning record label origin story is my favorite. So Allison Dore, what is the origin story for this? And I know it's called Howl and Roar Records because I do
Yes.
my homework. But your Juno Award-winning record label origin story. Please tell me this story.
Okay, well, first of all, Jay, there's one aspect of it that is Jay's favorite. Okay, it's a bigger origin story, but Jay likes to focus on one aspect of it. Also, Jay Brody, before the morning grind, was my co-host on the breakdown.
Okay, slow down. Because he did the Dumb Show
Yeah,
with Roddy
on the Comedy Channel.
on the Comedy Channel. And he was performing double duty. He would do the Dumb Show with Roddy and he would do the breakdown with Allison Dore.
Yeah, the Dumb Show was once a week, and they pre-recorded it, and then he would co-host the breakdown with me live 5 days a week.
Okay, amazing. Is he like your host after Ward Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. I love Jay
Yeah.
Brody. He used to come to my events when he lived in the GTA, which he does not anymore. But he's great.
He moved to Vancouver, so I will give him a pass on the events thing. No, Jay
I give him a pass
is,
too, for the record.
There are a handful of people that I refer to as one of my favorite people in the world. Maybe 5 people. Jay is in that top 5. I love that guy so much. Like, he is, and it's so interesting because when I first, it was kind of like we were in the same orbit but didn't really know each other, and I was kind of like, I don't know about this guy.
Well, he was on the Shapiro show.
Yeah. And guilt by association. I was like, well, this guy might be sketchy. And
Good
and
call on your
then,
part.
listen, I'm astute. But then with like the first time we had a conversation, I'm like, oh my God, I love this guy.
Yeah.
And ever since then, we've been fast friends and very good friends. And I love Jay. the
Well,
most.
Jay and Roddy came over to spill the tea about why the fuck they left that Shapiro show. So it's all like recorded in public record by those two if people want to go back and listen. But
I'm
yeah.
on Jay's side.
So did Jay, of course, well, there's only one side to that. Now, so did Jay quit or leave your show to become the Y108 morning show guy?
Yes.
So he joined up with Shauna
Yeah.
and Chris Z.
I joke that he abandoned our family to start a new family with them. And but he had to do it. Like, Jay's dream in radio, he knew radio was what he wanted to do, like, forever. And I stumbled into it. And again, you know what? If you're the morning show on an FM station, you're getting paid pretty good. And so it was like he had always wanted to do FM radio. He had always wanted to be a morning show. They're offering him a ton of money. I was like, I get it. You got to go.
Right.
But I was heartbroken.
Well, he correctly surmised that he really wanted to be, the Edge 102 morning show host, and he surmised that there was this pathway, like from 108 to 102.1. He got really fucked, in my opinion, by the pandemic because they launched that 102.1 show I don't know if that was February 2020, but then the pandemic smacks them and they all have to go back to their homes and stuff. Anyway, that show, Sean is on Q now, which is all with the guys that were with Derringer. So it's all very interesting.
Oh,
there.
weird.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the 2 guys who are with Derringer are now the 2 guys with Shauna Whalen on Q107.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that familiar with the terrestrial radio world. And so
You're not
obviously the
alone.
big stories, like I know the Derringer story.
Right.
But a lot of the time people will be like, oh, so you're into radio. So listen, this guy, I'm like, I don't know who that is. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening.
All right, well, let's get to Howl and Roar here.
Oh, right. So-
there's an origin story for me.
Okay. So Jay's favorite part of the story is the spite part. Most of the story is not about spite, but there was one tiny part of it. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of my successes in life do come down to being fueled by a little bit of spite.
It's good to be fueled by something like that. Like
you can't let it take over your life, and you can't let it, drive your actions towards people. But if you're letting it drive your ambition, it's a little bit of spite in there. It's pretty healthy. So I had put out an album with this guy who, looking back now, I think he just kind of maybe didn't know what he was doing that much, and there was part of it that he was like, part of the royalties like went to him, and then he would send you your cut. But at one point, essentially, like, his business needed more money, so he just wasn't paying those and would like let them collect up. And I was like, no, like, where's my money? And
I've worked with people like that.
Yeah, and I was basically like that is technically embezzlement.
Yeah,
right
after the recording, I'll tell you about somebody that you might be connected to, but this will be after the recording.
Not into the microphone.
Not into these microphones.
But at the time when I realized sort of what was happening, I was outraged. And also,
and you're purposely not naming this guy.
Oh yeah. Because it's, I don't know. I think he is probably just doesn't really know how things work, right? I don't think his intention, I think in his mind, because with the way the royalties work, it's like when he gets that check, the whole check is not for him. He's supposed to immediately cut me a check for my share.
Right.
But in his mind, my share is like one of the expenses on his list. It's almost like an invoice, right?
And he's got to pay rent, and then
he's like, well, I don't have enough money to pay that this month, and it's like, no, this money's not yours. You do have the money to pay me.
Fraud. He's stealing from you, Allison.
Exactly. So I like to get real fiery mad initially, and so at the time I was outraged.
Yeah.
Around this time, I was curating a show for the Comedy Channel at Sirius. Just focusing on women in comedy.
The broadcast.
Yes. And initially it was going to be just Canadian women because it's the Canadian Comedy Channel, but there weren't enough in the system. And there were headliners in this country that have been doing it 20 years that didn't have albums. And that really irritated me. And when I'd recorded my album, I was kind of pushed into it, and there was so many things I hated about it and the process. And so for a while, I just went around yelling at women like, you should record. And that did not work, weirdly. And then I started realizing, hey, the things I hated doing for myself, I think is what stands in the way for a lot of people. And now that I've been in radio for 5 years, I get the kind of post-production side, and the stuff I hated doing for myself, I could do so easily for other people. And so I started, initially I started really small. Like, I'm just going to low-key help out some ladies. And then it got away from me. And then I was like, oh no, I think I'm starting a label. And then it kind of exploded.
Amazing though. Like, I think it's like a female-centric comedy record label.
Yeah, so 70% of our focus and output is on women. The remaining 30 priority is given.
The remaining 30 is focused on John Dore.
John Dore. We'll see, and John's the big exception to the rule because the remaining 30 priority is given to people in marginalized communities, and then the big exception is my brother because he's my brother.
And that's a Juno Award-winning album.
Yeah.
I know that because he was my guest on Toronto Mike, and we discussed that. So.
Yeah, it was right after.
Yeah.
And so I know so many comics now are like, so how do you win a Juno? I'm like, you have a famous brother? I don't know. Sure, we produced the album good, but like he won on the jokes. I don't, you know what I mean?
Like, you're not writing his content. You're just making him sound good and helping to distribute this material. Yeah. And I do know now, again, we don't have to dive in too deep to this because I know you might have a conflict or whatever. But Simon Rakoff has been on this show talking about how I guess there was for the Canada Laughs, I guess Just for Laughs is now like a team, and he feels like they're not playing the Canadian comics they used to, and that was a big form of income for him. Go ahead.
Let me tell you this right now.
I'm listening.
I've known Simon for a long time. Simon is a very good-hearted man. Simon is the source of so much misinformation. Like, he posts stuff on social media where I'm like, I don't even know where you got this. Now, listen, JFL does record their own stuff and play it a lot. Absolutely. But the thing that I think he is overlooking is the fact that everyone is recording albums now. Everyone has discovered there is a financial stream
There's
here.
a stream of money here because when SiriusXM plays your album, they
get
have
royalties.
to get royalties, right?
So if you haven't recorded an album in years, Simon, your plays go down. And eventually it doesn't get played anymore because every single day people are submitting new albums. So look, is the JFL stuff infringing a bit? For sure. Is that why you're not making money anymore? No. No, babe. Love you so much. No.
I'm glad you're clarifying these things. It's important because if Just for Laughs does have this wealth of content that they've recorded from Just for Laugh Festival.
Well, that's the other thing is there is a difference between what they're recording now. Look, they started a label just to get away. Look, JFL's shady, okay, in this situation for sure, and I'm not giving them a pass. And so they are trying to record as much new content as possible because initially when they took over the channel, they were just playing like stuff from 1984, and this channel
and it was all Howie Mandel.
Oh Jesus! Don't get me started on that guy. So it was, and then they stopped playing all these independent comics and. Quite frankly, the Canadian comedy industry is in dire straits.
Right.
This was one of the only income sources because comics can't live off of just telling jokes in clubs anymore in this country. The infrastructure is a nightmare. And so, yes, that they started taking everybody off, and there was a hue and cry, and it was amazing, and all the comics came together for the one and only time in the history of comedy. And so they realized we can't do that without a backlash. We can't play all this really old stuff. So now they're recording compilation albums and getting people, and those are getting played. And that is probably affecting plays on some level, for sure. But the biggest thing is just that everyone is recording now. And because for a long time, this was an income stream that existed that was safeguarded. The comics who knew about it didn't tell other people because they didn't want to lose money.
Right.
And so a lot of comics now are complaining that their plays are going down, and they're finding a lot of reasons for it. And look, the reason is there's more content now than there has ever been. If you want to keep getting plays, you have to keep writing new jokes, putting out content. It's just the way it is. And so some people are complaining because an album they put out 15 years ago isn't getting played as much as it used to. Well, God, yeah, man, there's an album that came out yesterday that's getting played.
I'm so glad.
I'm passionate about that.
I know. I'm glad you're sharing here because I'm just a sponge, right? I'm here and I'll have people on. I'll have on Simon Rakoff, hear him out, and then
of course.
I even put Simon Rakoff on Humble and Fred to for them to have a discussion. It didn't go as well.
But the funniest thing is that they're having a discussion, but Simon doesn't have accurate information, and so. And again, Simon, I love you, but I see him post these things where I go, that is not true. And listen, conspiracy theories are rampant in comedy. I've heard some real doozies lately. And I get really frustrated because it's like, the information is out there. There are people you can check this with, but they never go to the source. They never actually, there's just this like huge rumor thing. Also, actually, this brings up something important to me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand. I have this record label. I submit albums to Sirius, but I also have a show on Sirius. So people feel like I get preferential treatment. I'm not an employee of Sirius XM. I am contracted in as voice talent. Believe me when I say they don't care about me. I submit my albums the same way everyone else does, and then I either get programmed or I don't, right? And in fact, there have been times where I have been what I feel is unfairly treated because they don't want to seem like they're giving me preferential treatment.
This is like if you're the teacher's kid.
Yes. And so people will go, oh, okay, well, you work there, so if I go with you, I'll get more plays, right? And I'm like, no. That is, first of all, I technically don't work there. I'm a contractor. I'm not invited to the town hall meetings because they're like, you don't need to know, get out of here. And literally, same process as everyone else. There's just nothing. Yeah, you try to do something nice for people, and honestly, they just want to shit talk you behind your back. And I just got tired a little bit. I got a bit tired.
No, please. This is your opportunity to be to set the record straight
now.
here. I love it. Okay.
Yelling at
And again, Howl and Roar Records, easy for you to say, is a female-centric comedy label. Okay, so your brother aside, it's cool that you can, release your brother's comedy. That's cool.
Yes, and nepotism is a law in entertainment, so I had to. Also, I would like to point out Sabrina Douglas was also nominated for.
Can I tell you
Juno
something
this year? Yeah,
Sabrina Douglas is an FOTM.
I know.
Okay,
I know
just want to make
everything.
sure you know,
Yeah.
because this is actually when I started thinking, I got to get Allison Dore on the program, because I had almost back to back, because it's like I wanted Sabrina Douglas in person, and she was great. Even though she's
Love
got
her.
a million kids,
Oh my God.
and she's a nurse, and she still sat there, and we had a great chat.
Yeah.
And then I wanted John Dore on, and he was rarely in Toronto, and I said, okay, John can zoom in because I don't think he's ever geographically here or whatever. And he was great. You listened to both of those. And then I'm like, yeah, Allison, I had memories of you recording on 30th Street in the same building, which I started Toronto Mic'd. So I consider, even though this is our first ever one-on-one discussion, kind of like there's a kinship there, because you're coming out of the same ecosystem, and then we go completely separate ways. And I've been, this is episode 1254 for me. You've got 10 years.
It makes me laugh every time at the beginning of an episode when you say the number, because I'm like, that number's ridiculous.
That number keeps growing.
It does, and it's insane. 1,200? Calm down, Mike.
Took me a long time to get to Allison, but here we are. So I actually pulled a few short clips here. I thought it might be neat. Just not you, actually. I thought it might be neat to pull some clips of like artists that are distributed through your record label.
Let's do that.
And I
got so scared
so
for a
if
second.
I play this, and they're not too long, but if I want to play these, would it be embarrassing for me to ask you to name the artist, or because I don't? Okay, because you'll know this, because you know your shit. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I didn't always have massive melons. That would be weird. I was actually a teeny tiny little kid in grade school, to the extent that my nickname was actually Twiglet. Up until grade 7, when the Titty Fairy came, and then it morphed overnight into Mamzilla. Ladies, do you remember that test we used to do in high school to see if you had big boobs? You'd stick a pencil underneath each one and walk about and see if they fell out. I could fit a whole packet of pencils under this one, and a sketchbook under this one, which was super handy for quick portraits, but very awkward for hookups. I still like to keep things in my bra, though, bus pass, house keys, snacks. I don't deliberately carry snacks in my bra. That's just where my food tends to end up if I'm not really careful. My cleavage is, in effect, a crumb collection device, which is handy, when you go to the movies, because a couple of hours later, when you're getting ready for bed, your norks are covered in bits of popcorn and melted chocolate. Delicious. In Japan, they've created a bra that comes complete with collapsible, disposable chopsticks built in. It was meant to reduce the amount of disposable chopstick use and presumably increase the amount of women prepared to take the tops off and root around in their underwear for cutlery. So that's a win-win. I don't think the chopstick bra comes in my size, though.
There's a lot more hilarity there, obviously, but name that artist, Allison Dore.
That is the lovely Marilla Wex.
And what's the name? Do you know the name of her comedy album?
All Mouth, No Trousers.
And that bit's called Snack Pack.
Okay, I don't. You know what? I'm not going to remember the title of
That's
the
okay.
track.
I'm going to give you the track.
But I can do everything else. And yeah, Marilla does. She's like crushing it in the voiceover world now too.
Oh,
and she does the audiobooks for Iona Wishaw's books, which is one of my favorite mystery series.
Okay,
everybody check out Iona Wishaw and Marilla Wex.
You've got the fun facts. Okay, couple more. Here we go.
Give
I'm of the controversial opinion, and I hope people are with me on this, that women should eat. Food, so much food. They should eat more. They should eat so much food. And I think that there are some obvious reasons why I would say that. There are a lot of messages thrown at a lot of people, all kinds of people, not just women, all kinds of people, to eat less, to take up less space, to do less to take care of your body, right? But the number one reason I think women struggle to eat enough is that a lot of women shop in the women's section for clothing. If you think they're going to give you anywhere to store your snacks, you're ridiculous. Okay, I wore a pair of women's pants once, tried to put my hand in my pocket, got to the first knuckle of my finger. What is that for? Is that for a grape? Put a grape in there, pulled it out, it was a raisin. True story, happened to me. I wear men's pants, and I can put my whole hand in my pocket. I can put my whole hand in my pocket holding a hot dog, bitch. I don't care. I'll 2 hot dogs. I'll do 4 hot dogs, 2 on each side. I don't care. Lots of snacks. I can fit hard-boiled eggs in my pockets. I can do like 8 at a time. It's 4 on each side. That's what I do. I don't care. I'm not embarrassed. Like to keep those on me.
Name that artist.
That is Amanda McQueen.
Ooh. You notice there's a theme here, and it
You went
snacks.
food related. You like the food jokes.
Complete coincidence. But I don't wear women's pants, and it got me thinking. Like I was educated. I'm like, oh, you don't have the pockets?
Why women freak out about pockets all the time, or like if a dress has pockets.
Well,
women
that's
go
why
crazy.
I said you have a purse, but I would never say that if you were a dude, right? Like I'm asking, do you have a purse for
but
your?
There's two. But see,
measuring tape.
you're following into two gender stereotypes there. One, because I bet some men would love to carry a bag, but they feel self-conscious because men don't carry a purse.
Right, like that Seinfeld scene.
Exactly, and it's like, do whatever you want. And
It's
then,
a purse. I'm carrying a purse.
The other thing is that, for some reason, women were not allowed to have pockets.
Right, and but the reason you need the purse is because you don't have the pockets.
Yeah, we have nowhere to put it.
Like, where are you going to put your phone?
I mean, I
Unless you
am
got the bra,
wearing
like,
pants right now that do have pockets, but
there's exceptions to every rule. Okay, I have one more.
I have too much stuff. And
What?
Amanda's album, by the way, is called A Hot Dog in Every Pocket.
A hot dog in every pocket. Okay, one more little clip here, and then we'll tie things up. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, Allison Dore. I'm so glad you're here. One more clip from your amazing record label.
But because I gained all that weight, one day I decided I deserve to treat myself. And I'm going to go to a place where they have clothes for chunky chicks. You know, the Chunky Chick store. You know, the Chunky Chick store is called El Adicion. And then you go there thinking that you're going to buy cool clothes for chunky chicks, but no, you realize that clothing designers hate your guts. They hate the chunky chicks. You should see what you find there. Flowers, 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 flowers. They want you to dress like if you are the botanical garden. Flowers, 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 horizontal stripes, horizontal stripes, horizontal stripes. Bling, 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 bling. Butterfly sleeves, butterfly sleeves. A blouse with an elastic here that makes you feel like you are wearing a tutu. Like in the Disney movie, you know, like you're one of those hippos from Fantasia. It's horrible. Society hates the chunky chick. And there is no support group for the chunky chicks, you know? We are that contingency of society that is vilified on a daily basis in television, in magazines, in movies. It's horrible. I am addicted to Criminal Minds. Anybody watches Criminal Minds? Yes. Oh, I watch it every day. I'm taking notes. I want to know what to do in case, you know. You never know. I travel a lot doing shows. I pick up DNA from everywhere. I have a jar with other, with DNA in case, I need to contaminate the crime scene. Because in that show, they also teach you that, like, let's say when they catch the unsob, they always say, oh, he became a serial killer because society didn't like him. Society sent him the message to hate himself. So I am wondering, how come there are no more chunky chicks snapping on a daily basis, huh? Hitting people in the head with the diet books. Strangling them with the Pilates strips. Sitting on their faces. To suffocate them, not for pleasure. But chunky chicks don't snap because we are gentle. We are gentle. All you have to do is give us a cupcake. But I'm going to confess something. When the Boston Marathon bombing, remember when somebody put a bomb in a marathon? I started thinking, because in Criminal Minds you also learn how to solve problems. Yeah, I started thinking, who hates people that exercise? The chunky chicks. This was not Al-Qaeda. This was Al-Cake.
Who are we listening to here, Allison?
That is Martha Chavez and her album Chunky Salsa.
Woo! Okay, so there's just a little taste, pun intended here, but this is
I'm
how...
fascinated by which comics you chose and also the tracks that you chose. It's very...
Do you want me to tell you why? Because it sounds like I had a theme or a method to the madness, and I truly did not. What I did is I went to your website. What is the website where we can learn about all things?
howlandroarrecords.com.
So I went there, and I thought, I don't want to be like tricky and go deep or whatever. I literally took artists on that were profiled on the homepage. So I took...
I have no idea what's on that.
Right, so I took homepage artists.
Because interesting, Amanda's is pretty new, but the other two are quite old.
They're on. Okay, so I don't even know the dates of these things. I grabbed them from the homepage, and I thought, well, it's probably going to be most current stuff up top. So I figured, I'm going to do Allison will get a favor. I'm going to grab what's on the homepage, but it turns out we don't know what's on that homepage.
Guys,
but okay, maybe it's randomized.
I'm not the best about.
But
the
these
website.
are funny. These are funny women and funny bits, and we did play a lot of Sabrina Douglas when she was here. She's very funny.
She's so funny.
So you had 2 Juno nominations then this past year, and you won. Well, which is great. So 2 out of the 5 nominations came from Howl and Roar Records. Yeah. So it's going well for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is going well. I think it's, Juno's is such a crapshoot. Like, it's who knows. We submit everything. We had 1 nomination last year, and then the year before, or the couple of years before, nothing. And you never know. Like, there's some albums where I'm like, this one for sure, and then it doesn't get nominated. But my whole thing, like, we work a little bit differently than other labels.
Okay.
We're on a per project basis, so no one is signed to our label. Because in comedy, there's a lot of people who want to be like, if you work with us, you can't work with them, and that kind of stuff. And so when I put the label together, it was very much as a comedian. And so it's like, yeah, we're going to make this album with you. And then for your next album, if you want to go to someone else, yeah, do that. You're in charge of your career. And all final decisions kind of come down to the comic. So I view us really as content creators. We're helping comics make high quality content at no cost to themselves.
You're thinking like an artist. And I bet you artists will gravitate towards you because you don't think like, I don't know, the guy on the Monopoly box or whatever. Daddy Warbucks or whatever. Like, you're thinking like the actual artist, and I think that's very cool.
Thank you.
Very cool.
In the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. And now there may be some things I would do differently, but I've set a precedent.
Yeah, because you started. So it's funny because I started my digital services business in 2018. So now I'm in this is the 5th year of TMDS, and things are cooking with gas here. And you started Howl and Roar Records in September 2018.
Yeah.
Look at us,
year.
parallel people.
We did it.
Look what's going on here. So you get the double happiness when John Dore wins for Best Comedy Album, because it's like, oh, my brother won, and then you're like, oh, a Howl and Roar recording won.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, it was literally the best, because John is also one of those small number of my favorite people in the world, and he's one of my best friends.
Can I see that list as well? Do you have that list with you? I want to see the shit list, and I want to see the best people list.
I'll tell you the best people list. But,
John, Jay Brody, who else is on that list?
Rebecca Kohler, my lifelong best friend, Amanda McLeod.
Okay. Short
that might be the list.
That's a short list. Okay. All right.
There's a couple of people who it's like someone like Tiffany Pratt, who is, it's like we're not close enough, but she is a ray of sunshine that whenever I see her, like she's for sure one of my favorite people in the world, but like we're not super best friends. But I wish we were.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, so because you run your own record label, which in itself is pretty awesome, you're the founder, for God's sake. Your name, you're like Allison Dore, founder, Howl and Roar Records. This might be very interesting to you because you work with a lot of talent. But I work with a company called the Moment Lab, and the Moment Lab specializes in public relations, and they have a team of experienced professionals who know how to craft stories that resonate with your audience and generate positive media coverage. Whether you're launching a new product, building your reputation, or managing a crisis, they've got you covered. So I'm happy to introduce you or anyone listening to Matt and Jared at the Moment Lab so they can tell you how they can help you achieve your public relations goals.
That was a real moment.
That's a moment. And one final moment here before we wrap up. I want to thank recyclemyelectronics.ca because when I have like an old phone or an old printer or an old 8-track machine or an old VHS VCR and it doesn't work, I don't throw it in the garbage, Allison, because then those chemicals end up in the landfill and I just feel guilty as fuck. So I go to recyclemyelectronics.ca and I can find out very quickly somewhere nearby where I can drop it off for safe disposal, safe, proper disposal. So Mother Earth will thank you. So go to recyclemyelectronics.ca. How did this go for you, Allison Dore? How was your Toronto Mike debut? Any regrets? Am I ending up on the shit list? I need to know before you go.
You're not ending up. Every time I do a podcast afterwards, I go, oh God, what did I say? Was I an idiot? Like I never leave. I love doing people's podcasts, but I never leave feeling great about it.
Do you ever listen back to your appearances? Because you listen to your brother. Will you listen to this episode?
I probably will because I need to see. I have some regrets, but I said it. So it's out there.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. I've never actually asked this question because, of course, one of the charms of Toronto Mike is it's all completely live to tape. So there's zero editing done. I'm going to play a theme now, and then this is going to drop before you get to your next destination, wherever that may be. So it's happening now. But if you had, let's say you had what is it called? Editorial privilege or something, and I said, I can take something out from this episode. You're thinking now, like, I would like to take out that part where I talked about blah.
I mean, I probably got a little harsh when I was talking about comedians.
Simon, you said many times, Simon Rakoff, I love you, you're great, but your album is dusty and old and you'd be better served to just record a new album.
I did not say dusty and old, but I do think Simon is great. I just think I probably didn't. You name checked him, so that's not entirely my fault.
Yeah, because he came on this show and very publicly called out Just for Laughs and said that we need to rise up. And I do know from back channels in the FOTM universe that I know great journalists for real like newspapers have been just having discussions and listening to things.
There are discussions to be had. And again, he's not entirely wrong, but he's kind of got the wrong talking points. And in his own situation, I think he's probably less right than he thinks he is. And so, there's discussions to be had.
You know what I'm thinking? I might have to have an Allison Dore, Simon Rakoff discussion that I moderate, where two bright people, two funny people have a civil discussion about this.
But there's nothing to moderate.
With Howie Mandel.
Because here's the thing. I have more information than Simon does, right? And so there's been certain things, there's other things, there's a whole other side thing about written word royalties. And he posted this thing on Facebook that was 1,000% incorrect. And so it's one of those things where it's like, there's nothing to moderate. There's no debate. It's just
facts
like,
are facts.
It's just like you have the wrong end of the stick. And in this case, he's got part of the stick, but then the rest of his stick is not right. And that's all I'm saying. But sometimes I get a little heated because there is a lot of conspiracy theories.
That's what's interesting. Like when I like it when a guest has passion in the belly And,
Sure.
Because it can be boring. I've done 1,254 of these things. And a lot of them I love and I have great memories. And there's a lot of them I barely remember because there was no passion in the belly. It was a bit of a paint by numbers
If you want me
conversation.
to scream about stuff, I can scream about stuff. I got a lot of stuff.
Next time you're in town with an hour or so to kill, like I would have you back to scream about stuff. Because that's the real talk, that's the passion, that's the authenticity. I'm tired. I don't want to do a PR exercise where you just tell me about your great label and all the great artists and how everybody should go to the website and buy all this funny stuff.
Everybody
I want to
do
get
what you
into it.
want. Yeah, no, I don't, and I don't want to talk about any of those things. I mean, I do want to talk about them, but like not. I don't want to do a commercial for anything. And anyway, Simon, don't be upset. I don't know. I always second guess everything I say, which makes radio fun.
Makes radio fun. And if people want to hear you on the radio, I just want to remind them that you are on The Breakdown, which is 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and that's on Sirius XM Canada Talks 167. Do you currently have a podcast?
I don't, but I have some irons in the fire.
Because you have had podcasts.
Digging in. All those episodes are still available, and there's some great conversations that I had back then. I just got too busy with the label. Also, oh my God, I have to shout out Melanie Darling. She is second in command at Howl and Roar, and I would have shut down the label without her by now. Also, shout out Matt Weemat, who is our amazing sound engineer and has been there from the inception, and I would have started it without him.
Okay, because if your stuff sounds like shit, it doesn't matter how funny it is.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, and Matt's the best. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, and if not for Melanie, it would be dead by now. So, and Melanie's a very funny comedian, and her album is coming out June 2nd.
Okay, love this, Allison Dore. You're going to not only get the lasagna from my freezer, but we're going to take a photo by a tree that is currently in bloom.
It's lovely.
Shout out to Nirvana. And it's only in bloom for 1 week a year. So you came the right week.
That's why I chose this week.
Thank you, Cassandra, for booking off this week, because it all lined up for everybody. And that brings us to the end of our 1,254th show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. Allison has 2 L's, and that's probably the way it should be. Mm-hmm. Those 1 L Allisons, they're just shitty people.
Listen, they're not great.
Not great. And I don't know what you feel about the Y Allisons.
Don't get me started.
Fuck the Y Allisons. Can I just say that? Okay, but you are a Allison Dore on Twitter. Do you also, I know you just dropped the website again for people to hear the funny shit.
howlandroarrecords.com and at howl_roar on Twitter and Instagram.
Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta's at Palma Pasta. Moneris is at Moneris. Recycle My Electronics are at EPRA_Canada. The Moment Lab, they're at The Moment Lab. And Ridley Funeral Home are at Ridley FH. See you all Monday when my special guest is Sandra Plagakis.
And I'll play this guitar just the best that I can.